Luton is very much a part of the Chilterns. It's known as a gap town, so it grew up in one of the valleys, and some of those are fed with streams and rivers, and others are dry valleys. So Luton has a river, Dunstable doesn't. Dunstable has a dry valley instead. And the chalk was all laid down in the Cretaceous period, and that was sort of around just older than 65 million years ago. And it's a very permeable rock, and it was a very, very thick layer that was laid down at the bottom of the sea, and it contains various fossils and things like that. And rather later, during the period of mountain building that led to the formation of the Alps, the outer ripples of that affected sort of northern France and southern England. So we actually had it's a bit like a blanket being kind of rucked up, if you like, so that you've got folds and so on in it. And the area to the north of the Chilterns, the chalk was all eroded away, so that exposes older rocks underneath. To the south of the Chilterns, the chalk is still there, but under London, it's buried under a very, very thick layer of clay, so you can't see the chalk. So what you're left with is the Chilterns Ridge, sort of running roughly from the northeast to the southwest. And within that, there are various valleys that have been carved mainly by glacial action in the various ice ages that we've had, and by modern day rivers. And the River Lea lies in one of those glacial valleys. So that's why the valley that Luton has grown up in is quite a sizable valley, but the stream itself, the modern stream, is actually quite small, and that's why, because one time it was fed by melting glacial water, and that obviously created a much bigger valley than it is now. So the tilt of the rocks is gently towards the southeast, which is why all the chalk streams that rise in the Chilterns, or the great majority of them, sort of trickle southwards, and they all end up going into the Thames catchment. There are one or two further north, just a few miles north of Luton, that feed into the Ouse system and into the Wash rather than into the Thames. And that's what we know as a watershed. You know, the term watershed has come to mean, all sorts of things, like, when dodgy things come on the telly and so on. But the original meaning of watershed was a barrier between two different river catchments, and the Chilterns is one of those. So if you go to Barton, the springs there feed the Ouse and then go out into the North Sea, and then you come 5 miles further south into Luton, and you have the springs at Leagrave. They feed the River Lea, and they flow southwards into the Thames system. So very much two separate catchments. It's one of a number of valleys, and the chalk streams, because they are generally derived from clear, clean rocks without much sediment in them, tend to be very sort of fresh, limey water, and have a flora and fauna of their own, potentially. So they're important internationally, because chalk is a very rare rock in global terms. We're very used to it in Britain. We have a lot of it. There's some in northern France, but not much anywhere else. So it's a rare kind of habitat.